Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with a 3-time and current world champion, the Zerg in the red, the finisher. It's Serral. Facing off against the former world champion, the Zerg in the blue, we have Rogue. In a best-of-5 all-Zerg showdown as part of the $10,000 LiuLi Cup. And before we get started, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button, maybe even subscribe. We got the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? Yes, we're allowed to do mirror matchups. 1,813 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I can do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As mirror matchups, well known for looking very similar in the early game, from the Overlord looking in. But Rogue charts his own path. Another rogue-like strategy from probably the most notorious strategist in the game, as Rogue is showing you what hatch first. The thing about Zerg versus Zerg is you can see everything, except the things you can't see. Which I know sounded very dumb, but it is the most poker game of all the matchups, including Terran versus Terran and Protoss versus Protoss, because Zerg doesn't have any desperate scouting options they can use in order to get more information. There's no scans, there's no flying units besides the Overlords, and that's very arguable at best. So that means you have to work off of what you see at the front, and if you can slip any Zerglings in. So it's always a calculated risk and a gamble, going for early aggression, or preparing to defend against it. Because obviously, for every couple Zerglings you build, and Serral's built more than a couple dozen already, that's a set of drones you don't have. Rogue has a macro hatch in the main, and is going for a later all-in with +1 Carapace and mass Roach Zergling. But Serral is looking to go right through the front door and has a whole bunch. Now, almost counterintuitive, but hatcheries are production facilities, as both sides are demonstrating. And the Queen, you got this, Brenda. I'm regretting taking this position. I don't. The Queen with everything stuck behind it. So Serral, realizing he's not going to get through, with the Queen in front and more behind and a hard wall of evolution chambers, he's, in fact, Serral has so much respect and just knowledge of Rogue, he's actually scouting for hidden bases, which is one of the most rare things, much more than the macro hats that Rogue has in the main. But Serral is likely suspecting a high-tech play, all right? Behind this, you wall off, you've got double Evo chamber, maybe you go Roaches, maybe you go Mutas. You know what you don't usually do is go for like 100 Zerglings. All right, 47, but he's adding dozens more on. So Serral starts a Spire. He was patrolling for a Nidus, but it's just a bunch of... Wait, one of these is not like the others. Guys! Why does it seem like it's slower? It's going the other direction. But Rogue has 60 Zerglings sprinting across the map with +1 Carapace on the way. The Banelings, with +1 Carapace, Zerglings can survive a Baneling hit. They just won't be happy about it, but it's not done yet. The Queens will try to hold the line. The Baneling zoning out. The Queen's already falling. Tries to save one, and it's not close enough. The hatchery under fire. Without the upgrade, the Banelings are an existential threat, but the numbers aren't there. They don't lie, and they spell disaster for Serral as the Zerglings overrun absolutely everything. Serral has a 15 drone lead, though that's dropping one by one. The thing is, Rogue put everything into this. He doesn't have a third hatchery at a mining location. He doesn't have his lair done. Serral just finished his Spire. Serral reached so far to try to counter Rogue's 2-base tech, and then Rogue went low on the tech tree, and unfortunately he's going to have to tech up. Well, the Banelings are enough, and even with +1 Carapace, sure, well, Serral's not going to make the mistake of exhausting multiple Banelings on a single Zergling, or at least it's highly unlikely. And of course, they're better against Zerglings as well, and double tap some of the lings. A few get into the main. Rogue a bit desperately trying to get damage done here. The Mutas are out. And actually, Serral making a round of drones, an age-old tactic by Zergs, but not an ineffective one. Rogue just kind of kept making Zerglings. And Mutas are going to flap around and try to knock them all down, but going for Mutas, Serral doesn't have any lings to stop this. The damage is slowly but surely adding up. The Zerglings in the main, the Mutas are dragged back, giving Rogue plenty of time to build a defense. He's not, but like, if he needs to. Burrow is on the way, which is a wild choice. And, you know, might actually be a good one if he's able to burrow some of the Zerglings and make it that much harder for Serral to deal with it. 10 more drones dead. The hatchery's at half HP, just nibbling on whatever he can get a hold of. And the Zerglings, they keep coming and they don't stop coming. The Zerg rush has opened up. The floodgates have fallen. And now Serral is drowning in Zergling. The spawning pool, the more drone pulled off the line. A queen gets an inject and dies. Well, not a bad way to go, but the mutas being incremented out, getting harder and harder. Double tap some more Zerglings. And 11 more drones dead in the last minute. Serral plummets to a 7-worker lead. But wait, there's more! Zerglings being streamed across the map. Infestation Pit is on the way for Rogue. Is he gonna go 2-base hive for Vipers? Which is really the only... Vipers are unbelievably good against mutas with Parasitic Bomb. But that's such a long reach. Though that's never necessarily stopped Rogue before. The muta's on defense, but so far, the only unit that could outrun them, and is doing so with great enthusiasm. The Zerglings, and he burrows the Zerglings! What a play! Burrows, and he got the 3rd hatch. I think, finally, Rogue got enough with the burrow, forcing out more Overseers, and the amount of damage, getting the 3rd hatch, lowering the drone count to such levels, and keeping the mutas at home. Rogue has succeeded. This Zerg rush failed, right up until it didn't. And if he hadn't kept sending it, Serral just constantly, that one Zergling underneath, unsuspected. This is the one scenario that burrowed Bane, a single burrowed Baneling could do critical damage to Serral's Zerglings. Though they're not able to kill rogues as easily. That changeling, yeah, that was pretty obvious. And an infester. Some queens on the way. Neither side with much of an economy to speak of. And actually exhausts a Baneling on that Zergling he didn't even know was there. The Overseer came into range. Another Zergling leading quite a wild chase. And eventually it'll turn around and get clawed down, but constantly scouting. And the fact is, Rogue has stayed on 2 bases Zerg longer than almost anyone I've ever seen in any matchup. Usually it's decided by now. If a Zerg is stuck on 2 bases, even in Zerg versus Zerg, they're either in a desperate situation or they've already won the game. But here, honestly, I can, with great honesty, all right, I try to bring you the truth and nothing but the truth. And also my strong opinions, which are my truth. And moving on, but I have no idea who's ahead. On paper, I think the mutas still give Serral a lot of map control. The fungal will mildly annoy some of the mutalists. The queens will politely yet firmly ask them to leave. One of them enters the unit's loss tab. Overall, Rogue managed to get 222 Zerglings in 10 minutes. And honestly, it was more like 8 minutes, which is an obscene amount of Zerglings to both build and lose. Serral. And I love the burrowed lings scattered throughout the map, as, well, his overlords won't survive, but the lings might, and actually spotted the mutas headed north, letting Rogue know he has a little bit more reprieve. Serral's actually going for a hive, which is kind of crazy as well, but Serral, 55 drones, Rogue has 56, and this entire time he's had that macro hatch to work with. It's not enough to tilt the scales entirely, but it certainly helps. And a fungal is thrown out. And hello? What? You said fun, gal? Susan, shut up. It was funny. It was funnier the first time, like 6 months ago. Oh, don't be like that. Sorry. Overseer trying to get in, but Serral continually denying. And now the hot war has gone cold, as both sides are almost unable to really do real damage, and they have to figure out where the other is going, because we've taken 2 very different roads to get to Hive Tech. Though both of them will be there in quite an odd scenario, usually. So, it's not that. One moment. Serral, please. Usually the late game is Lurker Viper versus Lurker Viper. Occasionally someone will try and mute us. The thing is, Vipers are so good against Gestures Wildly at Zerg. Oh my god. The fungal's here. But Serral is just going for Ultralisks. Which, a bold and a big move. And against someone who doesn't have lurkers, Ultralisks are gonna chew through Zerglings and ask for seconds. Or maybe a second 100. The Fungals have been mildly annoying these mutas, but again, like, even, how many, so, Fungal does 25 damage. The mutas heal about 1.5 health per second with their fancy extra regen. So, between that, why are there burrowed infestors? What are you going to do with the, is he gonna Fungal drones? What? What? What year is it? Surprise! Well, they die a little easier than the mutas do. He kills 8 drones with burrowed infestors, which may be the first time I've seen that this decade, ever since they lost their infested Terrans. Rogue is also going Ultralisk Cavern. What? This is gonna get real weird. And, well, Serral has a significantly better economy with better upgrades. But Rogue is Rogue. So, that's something important to consider. I'm not entirely sure when the half a dozen Ultras start jawing at each other. So, Rogue has more queens. And if he's on defense, the Sorry. The infestor lived! How do you like it, Serral? Serral, my somewhat nonplussed. At the burrowed infestor. He needs 150 energy to have 2 Fungals, which is enough to kill even drones. But he's got it! It's time! Some of the drones, he may remind Serral that these drones are idle, which is helping out Rogue a bit. The income has been swinging wildly. He knows it's here, right? Yeah, somehow. Wait, did he spot it with, like, did he see the worm sign? He may have. No one's better at burrowed infestors than Serral. I mean, there's a reason that they're so wildly impotent in most scenarios now. And it's the Red Zerg player's fault. I mean, we don't say that in the patch notes, but I'm saying it. All right, I'm brave enough to say it. Like and subscribe to encourage my bravery. Fungal thrown out, the queens again, but they're off creep. Get 1, and the rest, go tell your friends. You're not gonna have any friends if you keep talking like that, Brenda. That's enough! Well, the Zerglings and the infestors here throws out another Fungal. And, well, Zerglings doesn't want to engage the Baneling. I'm not actually sure the math. I think a plus equal upgrade to Baneling will still one-shot equal. All right, the Ultras. Serral doesn't bother even trying to tap on the Ultras, which will just, like, be probably just excited to get the mutas attacking them. This is going to be an absolute cluster fight soon. So there's double-digit Ultras for both sides. Rogue is going to have queens in support and probably a defensive position. But Serral just has more Ultras. But the surface area, since the Ultras are much like your mother, known for their girth, it really is going to come down. Okay, this is, yep. Here we go. Serral definitely with the way better concave. Rogue coming down with some more Ultras. And the queens trying to patch things up. But the momentum is shifting wildly. It is a butcher's market right now. Well, actually, the transfusers, they turned the tide. Indeed, all it took was a couple, honestly, but, oh no. Well, the Banelings would have chewed up, but 13 drones go down alongside them. Another round in one of the most ridiculous. All right. Well, finally we get to see Ultras fight instead of trying to chase units away for 5 seconds before they either die or pull back. Zerg's just brawling it out on the field. The Muta's still getting damage done. Serral with a clear economic advantage. The Ultra count 10 to 10. But the Zerglings and Ultras, not exactly the right tool for the job. Serral actually behind on upgrades a little. Doesn't have that +3 carapace, but the mutas just keep coming. Rogue has been unable to deal with them this entire game. He's been constantly chasing them with the... How many have died? 2 mutas. That is upset. 3. All right, 50% more now. But that's just obscene. They've just been flapping around. They probably have dozens of kills, including other... Oh, well, here we go. Yeah. Oh. Round 2. Fight. And the mutas try to participate. There's a score, and the Rogue is holding the line. Because yet again, the Queen's patching everything up, but the Zerglings, he gets the spawning pool. Serral, he might have lost the Ultra battle, but he's definitely winning the Zergling war. Rogue has lost 35 drones. Somehow he still has 56 of them. But every time, the Ultras, the defensive advantage, which is something you don't usually consider with Ultralisks, is quite large here, much like the Ultras themselves. But yes, coming up into a concave with Queens on the back line and just getting chewed up and spit out. As Serral, well, okay, the cleave. But wait, there's more. That the Ultras survive, there's one transfuse. The mutas can target the infestors, and they're just having at it. Serral still have 50 supply. He gets another base because he can't burrow those. And, well... Amazing. Beautiful. And it's all over. How many Ultras? 25 Ultras lost for Serral. 18 for Rogue. 326 Zerglings. Oh. Wow. Oh, that was quite a bloodthirsty game. Serral, since well, the mutas just gave him everything he needed. The mutas taking full map control and never letting it go. But Rogue managing to hold the line, it's just he could never really push back. Rogue's willingness to double, triple, quadruple down on his strategy, catching even Serral off guard. Because it's one of those situations where it's so dumb it rolls around into being smart again. Which, you know, many mirror matchups have that kind of feeling. But Zerg versus Zerg very much in the am I bluffing? Because the overlords can be denied, the Zerglings can be driven out. You can't know for sure exactly what they're doing in their base. You can, like, we saw Serral actively scouting around the map, preparing for a Nidus Worm, getting a Spire, all things that don't really defend against mass Zergling rush. Because Rogue completely flipped that information on its head. And it's only because Serral is such a smart, handsome, beautiful, incredible, strategical player that it worked. All right. Didn't need all those adjectives, but they all could apply technically. So, but that macro hatchery, like a Brood War style Zerg, which Rogue is also pretty good at. If you watched any of the SC Evo matches, I'm trying to kind of prime the field here for more of them because we got more of them coming up. Please watch. Even if the algorithm tries to hide them from you. I don't know if there's still a notification thing, like slapping the bell. I think that still exists. I'll admit, I have never tried it on any channel, including my own. But, you know, if you're into that. But maybe occasionally. Like, go check the videos tab and see if you missed something. Because sometimes it feels like some videos are just like, nah. I mean, you made it to game 2 of a ZvZ, so you're clearly more invested than most. Like, yes, it's two of the top Zergs in the history of StarCraft. In fact, Rogue is the only other Zerg in the conversation. Yes, Artosis is very loud, so he gets in the conversation of the greatest of all time. Reynor has always been like the foil to Serral Zerg, but I don't think there's any real argument of outstripping his accomplishments, whereas Rogue has been very accomplished in GSL and some other very high-profile tournaments in the past, even if not that recently. Still playing, obviously, and that could have gone either way. There were a few moments there with every sort of jump in tech, with the Zerglings, and then the Infestors and Ultras. Serral had the economy, and he had the tech for most of it, but things change very quickly in Zerg versus Zerg, sometimes instantly with banelings. So. Third base scouted. The Zerglings, believe it or not, as fast as... We don't like your kind around here, blue boy. Brenda. But we gotta judge them by their color. No. Serral opening it up. 16 Zerglings on the way. Baneling nest a little behind. Whereas Rogue, a little later on the lings, but a quicker Bane nest, which all part of the poker game here. What cards are you gonna play and what are you gonna hide? And how far can you drive out the overlords to give you just a few more seconds? It can make all the difference. The knife fight in a phone booth of Zerg versus Zerg in a split second, well, obviously, is sometimes more than enough. Well, more Zerglings here for Rogue because Serral's slipping some by and the Baneling's looking the other way. Serral successfully distracting. Let's go to the Serral action cam as he controls the link, splits one off to draw the attack move, and eats up some of the Zerglings, might even get a few more drones, and he's already up 7 drones while this is happening. Citizen's arrest, kills off a few more, and now, well, Rogue feels obligated to get something done. Here we go, the dance of death. Some Banelings exhausted on the front, and here come the Queens, the defender's advantage, as the Queens can help zone out the Banelings in ways the Zerglings certainly can't. One more Baneling. Oh! Big hit. Queens surrounded, though. The Zerglings get 1, they get 2, they get all 3. But is it enough to break through? The Baneling finishes. It exploderates another clutch of Zerglings. Rogue with more on the way. There's continued Zergling production. Serral still with a 5-worker advantage. That Baneling trying to zone out gets a hit. And finally consolidates the Zergling count enough. Serral survives at heavy cost, but more drones and enough lanes to force Rogue to get back on defense. A few Zerglings that over. Overlords staring each other down. And with the Queens removed from the picture, the threat of Zerglings running by is even more significant. Queen's being rebuilt. Rogue up to 35 drones, but still a precarious position. The mini-map is an absolute mess. And, well, the Banelings, another Queen trying to be targeted, but the Baneling almost gets it, not quite enough. And this Queen may be saved, but another round is on the way. Oh, the oldest trick in the book! I can't believe it worked. Oh, Serral got 2 Zerglings in, and 6 drones are now in the units lost tab for Rogue. It's a disaster! He had to know those Zerglings got in, but he lost track of them. Literally, the oldest play is hiding those Banelings in the corner. I guess the oldest play is probably building a spine crawler on the edge of their creep, but, like, same kind of vein. And Serral has gone from a tenuous lead to a decisive one. And Rogue is just now trying to catch up in workers. Thing is, Serral has roaches out, and there's no upgrades. There's no other advantage. It's a numbers game now, and Rogue is running out of ways to outmaneuver Serral to try to turn this around. +1 ranged attack is on the way. The Zerglings make their way in towards the 3rd. Serral might be able to pick off another drone or 2, pulls back, losing just 1 or 2 Zerglings. I'm trying to process it now. As mirror matchup, sometimes somebody is just ahead. Like, it isn't, it's actually one of the easiest to point out. Serral has a few more workers. He's got a lot more roaches. But he doesn't have +1 ranged attack as quickly, but he's going to have a lair even more quickly. So, roach speed is almost as important. +1 ranged attack has some important breakpoints where it allows you to kill roaches and a couple less hits. I believe it's like 10 to 8. And also it allows you to two-shot Zerglings instead of 3, which roaches don't attack so quickly. So significantly lowering the amount of time it takes to kill big groups of Zerglings, which can be a major factor as well. But roach speed, obviously, there's a reason that every Zerg unit has a speed upgrade. All right, like roaches, Zerglings, Banelings, Hydras, Ultras. Creep itself is a speed upgrade. Overlords. Lurkers. Like, pretty much every single Zerg unit has a speed upgrade. Or they fly. So getting that speed to be able to close the distance a little bit quicker, but that's not really relevant now. As Serral, Rogue is going to try to hit the +1 attack time. That is his best hope. There's about a 15-second window here between Rogue having +1 attack and Serral having it. But I don't know if that's enough to tilt the scales, as just a beautiful concave, some queens behind, Spine Crawler completed. Feel like the moment Serral finishes +1 attack, even before then, it might be too late. GG! Serral claims 2 in a row. Rogue again, trying to get the damage done, and Serral opened it up. He kind of baited him almost into an ill-fated counterattack. But a decisive victory for the finisher. I can't believe he got the 2 Banes in. Like, that is such an old school... One, it's a very easy mistake to make. Letting those Banelings in. Oh no, why would you guys do this? Somebody enforce this! They switch colors, which is usually not a big issue in matchups. And the players usually don't care because they use their own, like, player colors. Which you can do in games. But in a Zerg versus Zerg... I guess it's a little better than, like TVT, which doesn't have creep to kind of... I don't know why creep... You know what? I have no idea. But it feels like TVT is worse for it. Maybe we're just hating on the Terrans today. All right, all the Terrans left said, I'm not going to watch these 2 overpowered players fight it out. Okay? I'm going to be busy complaining about Protoss after losing once on the ladder today. All right. Got him, right? Racial stereotypes are always... Spacism is okay. Oh, Jimmy, just edit the last... You know, just take it from the top. Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with me, also here, as Serral in the blue and Rogue in the red. The rouge, if you would. I wouldn't, but maybe you're French. Well, quite a hill to climb here for Rogue. 3 games in a mirror matchup. I don't know if that's better or worse. So Rogue has historically been quite a stopping block for Serral. Then again, Zerg versus Zerg has been, until Clem a few years ago really came into his own. Zerg versus Zerg was the best chance for Serral to get upset in any sort of tournament, happening several times from players like Rogue and Shin, and Reynor. But you can still see him powering through here. Rogue with quite an inspired gamble in game 1. Some decidedly less so in game 2. But Tourmaline, it's a whole new game. A wide open third base, no matter where you take it, means that Zergling Baneling is likely to be at least a threat early on. It always is. The reason we don't usually see it be game-ending, though this series has been a lot more aggressive with it, is because the players have so much respect for one another. Like, in the Diamond League, one Baneling usually ends the game. The same can be true here, it's just a lot less likely. But the dance of Ling Bane and managing the larva of your opponent, let alone your own, and the timing at which you can build drones, is absolutely, unequivocally critical, and also kind of boring to describe. All right, larva management. is the most important part of early game Zerg, I would argue. It's not just what you're building, it's when you're building it. Because especially before the injects start rolling, but even after, you're very limited. And they also have the same ability. Like, one Baneling could potentially defend against 10 Lings. So that's 1 larva for 5 larva. But if it doesn't, obviously, you're in trouble town. Rogue, I'm still adjusting. Rogue with the evolution chamber on the way, though the fact is he's going for a 3rd base as well. Serral with a singular Baneling. Gonna try to box this out. And all it takes is 1. He spots it. Gonna try to split off, but Serral playing zone defense for that Baneling. There's a few Banelings from Rogue. The dance continues. Baneling on Baneling aggression. Hot and heavy. But when someone explodes, it's all over. Not gonna recover from that one. Serral pulls back. 6 worker lead. Rogue! I didn't even notice the roach one. I'll be honest. I was too busy pontificating. Serral, 1 queen stuck outside. You got it, Karen! Oh, well, whatever. The Hatchery Owner Association meetings are going to be way quieter now. I'm sure you'll make up for it, Brenda. What was that? Case in point. The roaches are on the way. Rogue is all in. Serral must defend. Problem is, I'm afraid that Serral's roaches will be fully operational by the time that Rogue arrives. Serral has exactly the same amount of roaches, significantly less Zerglings, but he's got the queens and he's got Banelings on defense. Gonna try to break through. Baneling zoning out. All of the Banelings for Rogue were taken out. He's got to take out Serral's, but a bunch of Zerglings go down with him. And the Zerglings strictly... Oh, no. Well, it's already bad. But with the queens even drawing any fire, the Banelings for Serral did significantly better. And Overlord wandering into the fray. Little cherry on top there, but Rogue is just... It failed. Very simply. Serral destroyed 20 more Lings. Similar amount of roaches. He has more economy behind it. And, well, the counter swing here might not be deadly, but it is dangerous. Rogue is at 31 drones, which is, this is true, less than 48. Rogue is quadrupling down yet again. He hasn't built a drone. He's not built a lair. He got that Evo chamber at some point and then just decided on the all-out, all-in. He now technically has more army supply. Serral's slapping down a spine crawler. I think starting to realize a single Zergling will get in. He's gonna see the gases. It's... Rogue sends out 4 roaches. Yeah, these 2 Zerglings are gonna give away everything. It's too late now. You gotta go now. He's trying to hide it. Let's not pretend. Alright. Well, this is all he's got. And Serral is prepared. The Zerglings come sprinting in. He tries to go by a half dozen more Banelings. Gets us around. The Banelings just wipe out the front line. And Serral wipes out Rogue with a clean 3 to Rogue's 0. Serral, a decisive victory. Each game more so than the last. And proving that he has the strategic and practical advantage in this matchup, despite how convoluted it can get. Bringing us to our second series. No, we're not stopping there. Serral versus Reynor. I gotta get all my ZvZs in a single video. 1, because they fit. And in normal video length, which is like an hour or so, I try to bring you. And 2, we try to consolidate the mirror match. The very simple reason is that mirror matchups that don't involve current world champions just do not do very well. Like, everyone who's on this video will hopefully say, I loved it, I'd love to see more. Many people who might say that just won't see it. No matter how hard. The algorithm knows, all right? This is why singers do collabs, all right? You've got, oh, I'm old now. You've got Eminem featuring, blanks. I got nothing. K-pop singer. Hyuna. I don't know if that happened, but you know, that's quite a collab. You're gonna get, even if you only get 75% of the audience for each artist, that's 150%, as opposed to 100% for one. Which I do actually think that same logic does apply to, and that's the reason why you'll see a lot of reaction videos and all that on the YouTubes. It's just human nature. But there are no humans here, just Zergs. But I digress a bit. Now, also, I want to be clear. Part of the reason I don't post more mirror matchups is a lot of them kind of suck. At a higher percentage. Like, I watch Hero play PvP, and it's not that entertaining most of the time because PvP is already such a disaster piece that it doesn't stand out. Like Hero looks positively normal when he's busy beating up other Protoss. So, if we have highlights, I'll try to show. But very simply, I think, I don't know, I did a poll of you guys a while back. Yes, as we get started here. This is from Home Story Cup, another $10,000 tournament, by the way. On what matchups you want to see. I don't know if I put it somewhere. Jimmy! Well, summary it was like 75% Terran versus Zerg, like 10% Zerg versus Protoss, or Terran versus Protoss, and like 5% mirror matchups. Maybe not quite that much of a disparity, but... And obviously we won't see the same ones every day. Also, very simply, there's not that many Zerg versus Zergs. I'm actually going to look it up right now. Since they're both doing the most mirror matchup build, I'd be like, this... Okay, I'm sorry for the flashbang. I do apologize. Because this site doesn't have dark mode. But for reference, just in the last couple weeks, there have only been 52 Zerg versus Zergs in tournaments, whereas there are 165 Protoss versus Protoss and 58 Terran versus Terran. Which I think part of that is because Clem plays Protoss against Terran. Obviously not that many games, but there aren't that many. You're like, that's a lot. That includes all tournaments with at least a $100 prize pool and all players who are ranked above like the top 200. So it could be, I'm gonna throw someone under a bus, like Yungako versus Rex. Sorry, Rex. Like, who? Exactly. Top players, very entertaining occasionally, but are we gonna get the algorithm going? I don't know. But that's enough meta discussion. How about some more focused micro discussion as we're gonna dance Serral and Reynor, the historical Battle of the Titans. We're gonna take a pause, but we do it live. Everybody's ready to go. Get no longer okay, even better. And clearly, well, they're on the same team, for one, and they've very clearly always shared a lot of strategy, and while their styles differ in other matchups, Zerg versus Zerg looks very similar between them. And, well, here we go. Reynor, the Banelings, exploding all over everything. Unfortunately for Reynor, though, his Banelings suffering. Serral has a few more workers here, but the Queen's doing a good job of zoning out. The Banelings doing the rest. Picks off a few Zerglings, picks off a few drones. Ooh, the Banelings on an attack move there. Bit of a mistake out of Serral, and that could cost him. The Zerglings now being overrun, the rest boxed out by the Banes, and Reynor off to a rough start. Manages to turn it around with some solid micro and overwhelms Serral. And now, without Banelings, a couple coming down the ramp, Reynor spots him in time. He's gonna split, but the Zerglings out of Serral, a tactical Zergling counterattack, but Baneling's doing so much damage. All those drones soften up. Another Baneling comes out. So many drones in the red, but not quite dead. Serral has managed to kill more workers throughout this. Working smarter and not harder. Reynor with a barrage of Zergling strikes here, but Serral with a surgical counterattack knocks out 11 drones. What chaos. So, if that counterattack hadn't happened, Reynor is clearly in a great spot. But losing 11 drones and not getting critical damage on Serral, clearly focused. His attention is not actions per minute, it's attention per minute. And Serral is the best at that, without a doubt in anyone's mind. Reynor showcasing his speed, but Serral just finding the timing to slip by. And now, again, we saw this with another R Zerg, which sounds wrong. But Serral, again, finds himself only needing to defend against a Zerg who is clearly all in. He's got roaches, which help a lot against the banelings, as long as you don't rely entirely on them. Having a couple banelings to zone out the lings, and then the roaches to target them down. Serral splits the banes. It takes 2 banes to kill 1 bane, which is a little paradoxical, but so you don't usually want to waste them. Instead, just try to draw them out. The dance, another queen pops out at a very fortuitous timing. And again, the counterattack might even just take out the 3rd hatch. And Reynor's numbers are thinning out quickly. A baneling gets a hit, tries to slip around. The Zerglings rally through, hatchery goes down, and Serral holds the line and takes the lead. Eminem and Hiana, though? I'd watch. Or, well, I assume there'd be a music video. Bubble pop, pop, pop. Game 2, Ruby Rock. Moving on as quickly as possible. Another technical defense, and Serral just outclassing Reynor there. And honestly, I think the damage Serral took was because he was setting up that counterattack. Neither side perfect, but oh my. $12 pool. No gas. The question, does he pull the drones? So, ye old all-out Zerg rush. Not a lot of nuance, not a lot of subtlety. Hopefully a lot of damage for Reynor's sake. There's a couple variations. There's the full drone rush, where you just go all out. And then the macro Zerglings, which you don't pull the drones, but instead either try to cancel or delay the hatch and end up with a better economy at the end. But the Predator drones are pulled off the line. I assume he's going to avoid that first Overlord. This all hits before the Overlord could scout across the map, and no one drone scouts because the overwhelming majority of the time it is incredibly inefficient since your economy is already so bare bones. But the drones are halfway across the map. By the time, he's gonna see the Zerglings with the Overlord, which gives a few more seconds of warning, but the other Overlord... that was a weird one. The spawning pool is not done. There are Zerglings in his base. Serral was about, and here come the spine crawlers. Oh my. The Zerglings on the hatchery, forcing the issue. He tucks all the drones in with the mineral drill. Gonna try to actually take some of them out. But there's 3 spine crawlers on the way. There's a very limited time with which to dislodge this. He's gonna try to take out some, pulls the drones away. So obviously has more drones. Reynor's still mining with a couple back at home. He splits a couple off. Everything being split. 2 drones dead. One of the spine crawlers taken out. And a second one as well. He manages to cancel both. A single spine completes, but Serral, mineral walk, drills through. And will that one spine crawler be enough? Serral has 17 drones left. But can Reynor hit the low ground or... Well, that spine crawler isn't actually in range. I don't know if he could move it to hit it from the... well, can he... Oh, he tried it. He tried it. Oh, and that might cost him the spine. He's trying to get some damage done. He thought he might be able to put out this little spot of creep, but no! Transfuses a Zergling. Another Zergling gets thrown over the top. GG! Serral with the calm and collected defense against the most all-in possible build. Wow. Somebody check Serral's heart rate. I don't know. It must be like 35. The most decisive dismantling. It's not like Reynor make big mistakes. Like, if you make even a single miss micro as Zerg, well, really on either side, but especially on Serral's side, there's no coming back from that. Exactly the right amount of units split off to kill the spines. Exactly the right call to just run by and mine from the natural and kind of ignore the danger that attack poses. And again, against the second best Zerg, Serral showing that, well, it doesn't seem like anything can damage him. That was beautiful and a little disheartening to watch. Where it's how do I defend against this all-out Zerg rush while going for the greediest hatch first? His pool wasn't even done. There were spine cores building in his base, and the pool was not done. Just micro. I do think that Serral's micro is constantly by casters such as myself, but constantly understated. Because usually most of the time he doesn't have to do the crazy micro that players like Clem or Reynor are known for. Because if you're already in the right place, you don't have to micro your way into it. But it's not like his micro is bad or worse than either of them. It's just the opportunity / obligation for those flashy situations is just not as common. So I think that was another example of it didn't even look like world-class, world champion micro because it just kind of worked. And he didn't have to do, he transfused a Zergling, but that was probably the least of it. 90% timing, 10% execution. And 100% reason to remember the name. Reynor gonna go 3 hatch before pool, which is like the opposite version of his previous build. He's gone from the earliest rush to the most economic one, which, if Serral was doing a 12 pool, Reynor just dies, by the way. Like, that no question. He doesn't have a pool by the time the Zerglings come in. But Serral's not doing a 12 pool. Serral's doing a hatch first, with no gas. So, a bit more economical, though clearly not as much as his Italian counterpart. He's even going to take the budget base. Or he's thinking about it. Serral did not spot the third, and I don't think there's really a tell. Because the hatcheries are at the same time. The hatch first is at the same time for both sides. The Overlord spots the creep and the hatch timing. There's no reason for him to think about this base being done until it already is. He's gonna see the creep with the Overlord. And, well, Serral's just gonna go for a 4th, I guess? Where is he going? What? He's gonna drone scout through the employee entrance? Wow. I said people don't drone scout, and I did mean, like, in the very early game. But this offers a unique scenario where, with the worker-only path... Yeah, Serral definitely realizes Reynor took that third. Wow. Another one of those little moves, but... Oh, now build a hatchery. Surprise! Hello! Sure, why not? Well, the queen not taking kindly to the intruder. Wow. Reynor will successfully scout the third. Though again, the budget base with only 5 mineral patches and 1 gas as opposed to 8 and 2. Lair's on the way, and Celestial Enclave, as always, giving us our full macro game, as having a ramp up to your natural with a pocket base, even in Zerg versus Zerg, makes it very hard. Not that many maps even have a ramp to the natural nowadays, let alone having a pocket base. So it leads to this sort of passive-aggressive situation where they're staring each other down. The Overlord gliding in, it's going to spot the Lair. Lair's on both sides, +1 ranged attack for both sides. Reynor with a few more workers, as you might expect, with a third hatch on a full base, significantly quicker. So Serral is just kind of playing from behind. He's going to have less drones. His upgrade is, it's about the same time. It's almost exactly within 1 second the roach speed starts. But Reynor with 69 drones and a 4th hatch on the way. Serral also has a 4th hatch on the way. But it's still a nice position for the Italian Stallion. Overlord speed is in production for Serral, which opens up some more options, but is another expense that potentially slows him down. He's got a Dropper Lord on the way. Roach drops, one of the most economical options, especially in this map, on this map, in this matchup, to get something done. But truly embodying that mirror matchup now. Well, off we go. Roaches and Ravagers, and oh yeah, there's a rich Vespine down the center as well. This is like a high budget base, where you have 5 mineral patches, and the single rich Vespine geyser. Reynor just gonna go straight across the map. Serral slips some roaches into the main, but Reynor looking to batter down the door while Serral slips in the back. And, well, it's 31 roaches and 5 Ravagers to 21 and 4. And the corrosive biles, the waves whipped out, but trying to target some down. And honestly, this may just end, as there's no really reconciling that sort of numerical disadvantage, as long as Reynor is able to keep his forces together. The roaches getting some drone kills, but the economic results are not going to kick in for far too long for Serral, I think. Yeah, more queens taken down. Reynor's economy, it took about 5 minutes to pay off. But now we're seeing the dividends. The roach drop, well, the roach drop worked out. I really thought Reynor just win the game there. But, well, Serral has 10 less roaches. The +2 attack is at exactly the same time as well. Reynor finally kind of reconciling this drop, and the queens! Get off my creep! Overlord taken down with the roaches inside. Reynor can focus all his efforts on the front line. And Micro's pass, gonna target down some of the Ravagers. Equal upgrades, unequal numbers. Serral tries to dart in. Reinforcements continue streaming across. Serral's reinforcements are obviously quicker. But, again, the numbers are just not there. Very solid micro from both sides to maximize and minimize the corrosive biles. And the tie goes to the leader. And Serral can bleed. It's proven by his teammate. Reynor takes one back. And a pretty clean victory at that. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised Serral went for the roaches just straight up, because it was pretty clear. He knew about the third. It was pretty clear that Reynor would just have more bases and more economy, which translates into more roaches pretty quickly. But if he messes up the attack, or if he doesn't hit his timing perfectly, then, you know, anything could happen. But instead, the most likely thing happened, bringing us to game number 4. A rare thing, but one we have here. Little extractor trick from both sides. Slip out a drone a little bit quicker. Worked out to be, if you do it perfectly, you get a slight economic advantage. You don't waste any larva. I talked about larva management. Again, still the most important thing. And getting that drone allows you to make sure you're using all of it efficiently. You never want to have 3, especially in the early game. You never want to be sitting on 3 larvae. That's a huge mistake, especially in this most aggressive of matchups. But in general. A hatch first for either side. Spawning pools. Reynor actually not going for the wall-off spawning pool. Many players like Serral here will go for a spawning pool in an area where you can jam a queen in to help defend against Zerglings in case of a very early Zergling rush, which we've seen is not a rarity. It's likely, if either side commits to speedlings, at some point Zerglings will get into the main. How many and how much damage they do, it's up to you to figure out. The Zerg, not the viewer who is not playing. Though you're totally gonna play 5 ladder games after this, right? While watching that other video. Awesome, thanks. Like and subscribe. Zergling speed on the way again. I like how with Rogue, every game was back and forth. Like, Rogue never did the same thing Serral was. Rogue charted his own course. Did it go well? No, but it was certainly different. Whereas Reynor so far has, somewhat puns intended, mirrored Serral in many ways. Sometimes the other way around, just like last game. And I do think that's a product of their... it's not nature, it's definitely nurture. Since, I mean, they are the 2 best Zergs in the world, though Solar may be outstripping Reynor in the other matchups, arguably. And probably the 2 most likely to practice against one another on a regular basis. It is kind of an awkward thing. Like, how does... When you're the sharpest blade... How do you keep from dulling? And that's a question I think Serral has to figure out literally all the time. Like, figuring out how to stay on the bleeding edge. Because I don't feel like... I don't know, does he practice with Clem? Or against Clem? Maybe Reynor's Protoss? I don't... Would people who are probably going to lose him in tournaments want to practice against him? It's a good question. But not for right now, as the Zerglings just meet in the middle of the field, chewing on each other. Serral with a few more of them. And falls back to the queen, but a single Zergling gets by, spots a second queen. The dance continues back and forth. Both sides slipping a few drones out behind this initial skirmish. As well as enough Zerglings to continue to reinforce. A tightrope walk for either side. And, well, Serral with more Zerglings still. And... actually, somehow more Zerglings and more drones. But Reynor is building a whole bunch of roaches. A Zergling gets in. What did it see? What did your Ling eyes see? It did not see the Baneling nest on the way, which would have given away all of this. It saw the drone count to an extent. It saw no lair. Which, Reynor going for the big roach all-in. And he's going to have to get some damage done already, obviously, as Serral is going up to 40 drones. His Roach one's not even done. So, it's a risky move for Serral to go this far economically. And the Roaches are making their way across the map. Serral building as many as he can, but already 9 Roaches for Reynor. Only 7 for Serral in production. That's all he can afford. Most of them will be out by the time it gets across the map. A small Zergling counterattack will be deflected. A queen chasing an Overlord far off the creep. The Zergling's coming back to defend. Every second counts right now for both sides. Reynor has the army, but Serral has the queens on defense. He has some banelings mixed in. The roach count has evened up somewhat. And Serral has more drones. The longer this goes on, the more his advantage is. A few Zerglings will slip into the main. Makes this a little more complicated. The banelings. And the Zerglings just taken out by the banes. But Reynor has some banes of his own. Splashing into the roaches, which is not an ideal choice, but might help turn the tide. It doesn't. Reynor, with less roaches and less Zerglings, and Serral just holds. Doesn't make it look easy, but certainly makes it look inevitable. It just... Well, Serral destroyed 5 roaches, 43 Zerglings. Reynor technically got more from his side, but again, it's the economy, stupid. Like, 39 to 34 drones, and the fact that Serral is maintaining a higher roach count, and he's continuing. It looks like he's going to go for the counter-strike. Serral offensive, and now Reynor has to catch up with the drones. He hasn't been mining. The income lead decisively to the finished Zerg. And even when Reynor catches up, there's still the threat of a counterattack. I don't think it's going to be a threat for that long, as neither player is going for a lair. The fact that Serral didn't immediately go for a lair after the attack means he wants to do damage. Otherwise, he had plenty of space to go for that lair, but has decided that just smashing Reynor before he can get any further is the highest percentage play. He's let him stew a bit, let him build up some more drones. Only 4 drones at the third, which is actually kind of underselling it a bit, I think. But a few more drones on either side, but neither player willing. He's got his roaches spread out to box out scouting Zerglings. Never showing all of them. Couple banelings ready to move in. Both players, this Cold War here, both players are going for... There is no lair. There are no upgrades. They're both just winding up for another attack. And Serral, has he correctly realized that Reynor's doing the same thing? It's crazy to me that Serral didn't attack. He's just still building up. But he's reading him like a particularly well-read book. And I think, yeah, Reynor's going to move out. It's his obligation here. He's going to knock out an Overlord, which will actually supply block Serral. Maybe give him a slight reprieve. But Serral correctly analyzed the situation. And realized that Reynor would go for the attack. A Baneling. Oh no, a couple Banelings again. Just a couple drones in this case, but Serral has more army supply. And he's in a defensive position. He just kills his own Zergling. The Ravager count is similar. The Zergling's going to try to wrap around. More Banelings on the way. Gets a clutch of the Roaches. But Banelings looking to box out. The Zergling count already thinning out pretty dramatically. The Banelings can come forward and help deal with the Roaches, and Serral just has the numbers. He knew it was going to be a Roach counter, and he just waited. And his patience will pay off as Reynor is crushed on the field, and he's just not going to have enough back at home. He retreats. He knows the score. He actually snipes off a couple Roaches with Corrosive Bow, but it's far too late. It's far too late. Shotguns down another of the Overlords from the sky. And whatever, the dregs of a defense. But the counterattack of Zergling, Serral, boxes it out. But even just the Roaches and Ravagers should still be enough here. Corrosive Bow's landing would be a dream. But right now it's looking more like a nightmare. Fires off a full birdshot blast, and there's actually 6 Overlords here. Serral boxing out the Zerglings. The Roaches dealing with their opposite number. Fires off another volley. Knocks down some more Overlords. And Serral won the Zergling battle, the Roach battle, and the full battle. That's too many. It's too late. Serral, GG, WP. Another decisive victory against another top Zerg. Another Zerg world champion. But clearly, there is a champion here today. So hopefully you enjoyed Serral ripping apart his feral... Works on 2 levels. Fellow Zergs. And hopefully you enjoyed the occasional mirror matchup. But thank you for watching. I hope I made your day just a little bit better. If you got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon, YouTube membership. But if you're liking and subscribing, it's still free, at least for now. Thank you, our Mule Tier patrons, Big Jiggy, Devendor, Kate, Mario Suit. Glad you still enjoy. And everyone, make sure to check out this video. Jimmy picked it out just for you. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Good luck, have fun. Thank you for watching. Stay chill.